Doug Rocky, who was the head of the DU program for the Department of Defense after he was the head of it for the Army, and who wrote the official manual, what was it, 1987, that is still used by the Army and other armed services for the use, containment, cleanup of depleted uranium munitions. Now, why am I just starting there? Because to understand what's happening to the troops and to understand it's premeditated on record, when I even start getting into an area like the veterans and the troops, there is an explosion of data in my memory and my mind of publicly available, prima facie, undisputed, absolute, incontrovertible facts in thousands of different secret tests that have been declassified that killed tens of thousands of active duty troops from the 30s right through until now. And the vaccines and the medical experiments, they do it all in plain view. So, of course, there's an attitude at most VAs that the veterans are garbage, are scum, and are on welfare. And we've had countless whistleblowers the last 3 weeks with Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs interviewing them on the nightly news and on the website, Infowars.com, where senior people at the VA and senior and nurses and doctors and people going public, where they call them welfare queens and subhuman and hate them. And there is a minority of people in the VA, mainly veterans, who try to take care of the veterans, even though it's a tough job and the money's diverted and the forms are falsified. I mean, they'll say, it's come out in the news, I told you this a long time ago, but it's in the news this week, that they'll say they've done a surgery to remove a cancer and they just won't remove it and won't even do the surgery and let them die. And by the way, we're not talking about 85-year-old Korea War vets or 89-year-old World War II vets, which I think it's really evil to not give them treatment. But there's the argument, well, they're old and they can't be helped. It's just better they die. We're talking about 25-year-old Marine Corps and Army vets that we now learn one of the biggest suicide reasons is that they literally can't get shrapnel removed. I mean, folks, it should have told you everything you needed to know when I learned about it in mainstream news a few years ago, that they are ordering the volunteer army, that's not volunteer, in automatic re-up, and the fact that people don't have the money or the health care they need already, they're ordering people who've had their feet blown off and hands blown off. They are slapping robot hands and legs on them that don't even work and are ordering them back into combat. Nobody's ever done that. They are using them up like I put 10 gallons of gas in my truck. But when I put 10 gallons in it, it's going to be burned up. It's not alive. It's inanimate. It creates carbon dioxide, plants breathe. It puts out some other toxic stuff. But it's not personal. It'd be one thing if they were using up the troops and they were some alien species and just didn't care about them. Let's say aliens posing as humans were running things and they were acting like this. They would, you know, they've got 7,000 IQs. We're dumb animals to them. And, you know, I eat cows. It wouldn't be personal. I'd still want to defeat the alien species. These are our own humans, and they like treating the troops bad. On record. They enjoy it. These people are scum. Because here's the deal. If you're doing bad things to innocent people and you don't want to take care of the old or the young or the infirm, and you don't have a natural nurturing thing in you to want to help people, you can just write people off and let them die. When you're doing things like that, it's going to hurt you, and you're going to feel bad if you've got any soul, any humanity. But for the people that will do this, they like it, folks. That's why they excel in this system. They knew in 1946, and we've read the paper on air with Dr. Rocky, I forget the exact name of the Pentagon Department of Defense memo. But I think it's radioactive particles and gases as a weapon. And in the big multi-hundred-page paper that was declassified in the 80s, they say we could create DU weapons with our reactor waste and nuclear weapons production waste, atomic weapons production waste at the time, and it'll shoot through basically anything. The kinetic power is unbelievable. The problem is it creates particles of it that are a death sentence when any mammal comes in contact with them, and will massively reduce lifespan and will cause all sorts of degenerative effects. So from the 40s until 1990, no one in the world would use DU. The U.S. military had 3 places they would let the A-10 Warthog tank killers and pilots test on, and those were areas you didn't send humans into. Areas they decided to shoot old tanks up with, and they had bunker busters tipped with it that were for wartime use. And they had caches of it deployed all over Eastern Europe. If the Russians, with 10-to-1 tank superiority, poured in across in a Soviet invasion of Western Europe, they would then, in what would already become a nuclear war, hand out the DU weapons. And the Russians have them as well. It's a doomsday weapon. You're going to go ahead and have a nuclear war, you use it. Okay? It's an emergency weapon. What changed from 1946 to 1990? What changed in 87? Rocky's report said, of course we can't use it, because they were looking at using it more. And it's totally deadly. And you know, he even kind of worked with them and said, well, if you wear decontamination suits and then it's drug off and buried in big pits and everyone's washed off immediately, and you wear breathers, you know, the risk might not be that, you know, too bad if it doesn't go through your skin. You understand? But we shouldn't use it. And they went, you know what? We're going to use it. And the Israelis started using it. They use it in Gaza, and it all blows right back on Israel. I mean, let's say the Israelis don't think the Gazan Palestinians are humans. Are you human when it blows back on you? See, this is the classic thing of where you treat someone like they're not a human, it blows back on you. It's the archetype of the Germans in World War I were the first to use nerve gas, primitive nerve gas, chlorine gas, mustard gas. They would shoot it across, and then the wind would just turn and blow it right back on them half the time. I mean, this is madness, ladies and gentlemen. So you want to talk about, did they know? Oh, and then I saw Shepard Smith yesterday blowing up at his guest going, how dare you say Obama's involved? That's Republican politics. They're trying to score points on this. Of course it's political. That doesn't matter. It's gotten worse under Obama because it's on purpose and they hate the veterans. Everybody I talk to, including Democrats, says the VA is much worse than the last 6 years because they hate the troops more than ever. And that culture of hating troops has now totally taken over.